気分は最高だけどびっくり世界がどう
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 34 of The Spy Who Loved Megaranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Denji Sentai Megaranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing?
Doing pretty well, man. I just finished up the X-Men event, Ten of Swords.
Oh, dude, Ten of Swords, really good.
Yeah, it was really good. It was like 100% like fairy realms nonsense. Loved it. Reminded me a lot of like LARP, but like amazing. So I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, dude. It is not
enjoying a Miller High Life over here.
Ooh, I'm enjoying a nice a local brewery. And this beer is called Preem. Anyway,
sounds pretty good,
yeah,
June.
Yep, pretty good. Tell you what, it's not one of the 5 stars this week, but daylight savings time was Sunday, and although I'm still sort of catching up on the like getting my sleep schedule sort of in line, man, like having sunsets like after 7:30 is just like, it is a balm to my soul.
Oh man, it is really good. Now I did get a buddy bear. We were at dinner today, and he was like, "After this, we will go to bed." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "But it's still day out." And I was like, "Welcome to the great injustices of being a child, bud. Like, sorry, pal. That's just the way it is. It's only gonna get worse." I didn't say that part, but it's true.
You know what does get worse, Dave? At least this week, Megaranger. It's sort of a weird episode, but we're watching it anyway. It's episode 34. It's called I'll Show You, Big Brother's Miracle Shot. But before we get into that, Dave, as always, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. Would you like to know what our first star of the week is?
Sure would, Matt.
Dave, it's a house update. I don't know if Mark has a stinger for house update.
I was just going to say, is there a stinger for that?
Dave, house update. It's been a little while since we've talked about it. Actually, it's been a little while since we've talked on the show. We've had a couple of weeks off. Life has just sort of been busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has been. I should say, so I'm in the middle of my license expires. My teaching license expires this year. And so I have got to get in a bunch of like graduate hours. So I'm in the middle of doing so I'm in the middle of doing 2 graduate courses right now, and they're both like accelerated. So they both meet 3 hours a week. And one is on Monday and one is on Wednesday. And we started drama club back up in a remote way because a bunch of the drama kids were like, "We really want to do some drama, please, this year." So it's like, all right, man. So basically Monday through Thursday, drama kids.
I mean, listen,
I love them.
I was also in theater in high school. I get it.
Yeah, me too. Not as much as you, weirdly. Anyway, listen, I love drama kids, but it's just, it just takes up a bunch of time. So like at this particular moment, my time tolerances are like extraordinarily tight.
Yes, and I, as we are mentioning, am currently in the midst of a home renovation project. So, and when I say home renovation project, I mean the renovation of an entire home. So, the update on that this week is that there are actually contractors at the house working now.
Dope. Like, that's awesome.
Like, I got all the permits, and I hired a dude, and he has brought his people, and they are just, like, absolutely going ham on this house.
Love it.
It also means that we are currently at the stage of the project where my budget has gone completely out the window.
Yeah. That is definitely, that's a key stage. If that doesn't happen, are you even really doing a house project? How far out the window? Now wait, your budget or the initial, like, your overall budget, or like the amount of money that you had initially budgeted for this particular element? Because those are very different questions.
I will say, Dave, that the degree of change in scope on this particular part of the project, the dollar amount is somewhere between ouch and boing. To quote the great White Christmas.
I really was. So it's a whoa.
Whoa.
As soon as we started this, I was looking for an opportunity to get that joke in, Matt. I applaud you.
Anyway, yeah.
For getting in a White Christmas reference.
So basically what's happened is that I had hired a guy to take out some walls and also reroute the electricity that had run through those walls so that like electricity can still exist in the house. And when he started to do it,
that's such an important feature.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, all of your electricity is in the wrong places, and most of the way that it's set up is, although it might not have been illegal 100 years ago when this building was built, not currently like legal and up to code." So what the stage we are at now is negotiating whether or not the entire house is going to be taken down to studs so he can redo all of the wiring, or if we're going to try to redo the wiring while only removing most of the walls.
Now listen, Matt, that's a gut punch. I don't want to take that away from you. However, silver lining, here's what I'll say. I also am a dude who lives in a 100-plus-year-old house. And I also have had wiring problems. And had it been, it wasn't an option for me because of the way that I got this house, but had it been an option for me to have somebody come in before I ever moved in and just say, like, listen, man, we're going to take this house down to studs, redo all the wiring, and I think in your case, all the plumbing too. Is that right?
Most of the plumbing, yes.
Most of the plumbing. And just say, like, listen, we're going to redo all the wiring and most of the plumbing, and then we're just going to put the drywall back up. Man, again, not to say it is not a gut punch in this moment, but having lived in a 100-year-old house for 5 years now, there's very, very definite upsides to the way that you are going about doing this. Because the way that I go about doing it is periodically just an outlet stops working or like a light stops working. And then I have to get a guy in and he's just like, I don't know, man. We're just going to have to kind of try some stuff. We'll see if we can find it without tearing all your walls out. So,
yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. But that is, and that's definitely, it will be expensive, but I do ultimately think that it is for the best, and that is how I am choosing to accept this information, because to do otherwise would drive me to the point of madness.
You've got a newly repaired roof. You'd have new plumbing and new electricity and new dry. Those are the things, Matt. Like the three big things that are wrong in houses. Those are the three ones. So you have just, at an initial outlay, I predict that you have saved yourself a mountain of headache, like moving into the future.
Hopefully, yeah. And basically at that point, like, it's kind of a new house, just wearing an old house's jacket,
Yeah, basically.
Anyway, house update. Dave, what's our second star of the week?
Second star of the week, Matt. I just finished up. This is part of the reason we didn't have an episode last week. I just got my second dose of the vaccine, and I never felt sick, but I was super lethargic. But I am at this point. I have both doses, man. I am fully vaccinated. I did do something real dumb, which is I woke up on the morning of the second dose with just like a nasty headache. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, well, like, let me just take some Tylenol because like my head hurts. And I just did not remember at all that they were like, don't take Tylenol before you get the vaccine. Because like it might interfere with its like efficacy or something. I'm figuring it's probably fine. But yes, I'm all vaccinated up yet, and it's having like a weird side effect, which is I I feel like weathering the pandemic with like a lot of equanimity. Like I've actually felt like pretty decent, but now that it is A, spring, right? And B, I am fully vaccinated. Like I've done a really great job of, in a sense, keeping my eyes off the horizon. Like don't look at the horizon because it'll drive you to insanity with its distance. Just look like right in front of you, and that's how you survive these sorts of things. But now it's close enough that I sort of can't help but see it, but it is still far away. And so like now I'm having like weird depression spirals. I was just like, oh man, it's so close. We're almost there. And now it's like messing with my head. But I'm fully vaccinated now, which is very, very exciting. And Ohio, the governor has said that we're projecting for open vaccinations by the end of March, which is in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, like it's less than 2 weeks because I think he said the 29th, and as we record this, it is currently the 16th. So in just under 2 weeks, I can start trying to get a vaccine at least.
You know what, man? I think it's probably going to be there's like a portal, and you'll put your name in, and then someone will call you and be like,
no, at this point, like now that it's on the calendar, I am much less obsessive about it because previously, because I was in like group F or whatever, like, I
think it actually is group F. It's group 1E right now, and then the next group is everyone else, and it is the letter after E. So yeah, you actually, what as it happens.
What is weird is that Ohio, instead of admitting that there were like 7 separate phases, they're like, no, you're in phase 3, but phase 3 follows phases 1, A, B, C, D, and E, and then phase like 2A and 2B, and then phase 3. It's like, well, then that's not really 3, is it, Mike? Anyway, but
so anyways,
I'm very
that's
pleased.
still very exciting. Yeah.
Yes, very pleased to be able to at least look at the idea of having my life back. That'll be fun. What's so weird
cool.
is that I am like thrilled to pieces with the idea of going back to the office. like I cannot tell you how excited I am to be able to work in the office again. Like just so into it. And like, listen, my office is fine. I like my job pretty well. But like I did not anticipate just like how much I missed going to work. And part of it's that like I'm just sick of being in my apartment. But also, like there are other people there, and you can talk to them like face to face. It's wild. It's wild out there, Dave.
Yeah, things are real crazy.
Anyway, what is our third star of the week?
Oh, this is just a fun thing, Matt. I take a stab at trying to learn French.
Oui.
And a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, Rosetta Stone was running a sale, and they were like, hey, you can buy like all the levels of French for, I forget what it was, but it was like 50 or 60% off the normal price. But it was like, it was like a couple $100. It was like $200 or something. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I got it, and because this is how I run my life, I used it for a little bit, and then I stopped.
Sure.
And so it was just kind of ungainly was the problem anyways. So I was looking at it. I was like, man, Rosetta Stone's got to have an app, don't they? So I got on the Rosetta Stone app, and they're like, oh, it's like X amount for a subscription. And I was like, this is BS, Rosetta Stone. I already gave you several $100s. And now, like, my thing doesn't work because my computer doesn't have a CD drive. Like, help me out here. And actually, they do. If you had like registered this, if you had registered the CDs when you got them and like your account is on file, you just have to say like, hey,
it's me.
I owned the CDs. It's me. And they will give you like a free year's access to their like premium version of whatever language you had bought the DVDs for. Nice. And then when I was looking at it, and I don't know, brief commercial. Right now, they're running a sale for like $180. You get lifetime access to all languages. Anyways, I am having one little problem, which is this. I'm
French
a theater guy. I'm a public. It is, yeah. But that's not the problem I'm having. Here's the problem that I'm having, is that it's lazy. It's a very lazy-mouthed language, and I have spent, because I'm like a public speaking theater teacher, I've spent a lot of time focusing and training on like diction and like really pronouncing letters and everything. And French is just like 15 vowels connected by like one letter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I keep trying to pronounce it the way that one might think it's actually pronounced. And it's like, oh, no. It's just like, right? Right. And I'm like, and it's, I think my diction is really working against me on the pronunciation tasks for this thing.
That makes total sense to me. Yeah. Yeah, man. French is hard. I'm not good at it. I used to be okay. Not anymore, sadly. I did try to do Duolingo last year, and then I was on a roll with it, kind of. And then the pandemic hit, and I was just like, I need to not care about this anymore. Like, I need, like, I can only focus on so many things, and I am choosing that this is the thing that I'm going to stop focusing on.
Legit.
And then I accidentally stopped focusing on all sorts of other stuff, but that was the one I did on purpose.
But you did learn how to bake baguettes, so,
That's true.
Ups and downs. What, Matt, is our fourth star of the week?
Dave, our fourth star of the week is, I regret to inform you that...
Oh, no, Matt.
One year into the pandemic, not even 1 year. This was just before the 1 year mark. I didn't quite make it a full year before I did start practicing one-handed card manipulation tricks at home.
Oh, no, Matt.
I know.
Matt, what have you done?
It's like a fidget spinner for like a riverboat gambler. It's not great.
Matt, you're my brother. I love you no matter what. And it's not even, Matt, I'm not sad. I'm not even disappointed, Matt. I'm afraid is really what it is. I'm apprehensive about what the future may hold should you continue on this path.
Well, see, this is why I need that vaccine, Dave.
It is, Matt. Listen, you already know how to juggle. If you continue on this path, you might become a magician.
Yeah, man. See, the problem is I was trying to find like YouTube videos to show me how to do it. And I did discover that the word that people use to describe this sort of thing is cardistry. Like artistry, but with a card.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Dave, I watched a video with that in the title, and I learned something, and it doesn't feel good.
Matt, okay, now listen, there's a Rubicon, Matt, and I'm going to tell you what it is. And if you have already crossed it, well, they don't call it a Rubicon for nothing. Have you started looking into special decks of cards yet?
Okay, now this isn't fair because I have always had an interest in looking at special decks of cards. I have not considered buying any, though.
Have you looked into special decks of cards specifically as it relates to cardistry?
No, I have not.
Okay, I think there's, you're on the table, but there's hope for you yet.
I just have regular bicycle cards. My Charlier cut's getting pretty good. And
are you red or blue? Are you a red guy or a blue guy?
I'm a blue guy. I like a blue card. And my scissor cut. My scissor cut's okay too. My one-handed scissor cut. I had to practice that one a lot because you got to sort of do a big hand stretch.
Yeah, man, I'm delighted to tell you I don't know what any of those are.
Get the packets to clear each other. It's kind of difficult, but you can do it if you just sort of, I got good fingers for it, so,
Yeah, Matt, again, just so pleased to tell you I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I talk a big game talking spec on this. I love magic. Love it. And you know what my favorite form of magic is, Matt?
Close-up card magic.
You know card magic, absolutely. It is 100% the best form of magic. No question about it. I will watch people do card tricks all day. If I'm watching Penn and Teller Fool Us and a dude rolls out like a big apparatus or there's a soundtrack, I skip to the next video. I do not care. Close-up card magic all day. That's all I'm interested in.
Well, Dave, maybe you should try practicing the Charlier cut. It's pretty simple.
I just like to watch.
Anyway, Dave, what is our 5th star of the week?
Matt, 5th fun star of the week is this. We were poking around Netflix, my wife and I, and we saw a documentary about samurai and the Warring States period. And I was just
was it starring Tom Cruise?
No, it was not, sadly. And I was like, or Keanu Reeves, also suspiciously absent. Anyways, so I was looking at it, and I was like, we were watching it for a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And it's one of these newfangled documentaries where, like, the reproduction value of, like, the people who are acting it out is, like, really high.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. And I started to notice something, is that all of the experts, their titles were just, like, historian. Okay. And not a lot of doctoral titles in there.
All
not
right.
a lot of like history professor at such and such university. Just like historian. And that, yeah, I think you can see where we're going with this.
Not an overly credentialed bunch, you're saying.
Yeah, and then one guy started talking about katanas, and he was like, these were possibly the greatest swords ever made. And I was like, oh no. And then another guy was talking about the samurai. He's like, these men were possibly the greatest warriors in the history of the world. And I was just like, oh, okay. This is a documentary by weebs.
Right. This is a documentary by and for samurai nerds.
And listen, again, I talk a big game for a dude who has a Sentai podcast.
Right. And for a guy who, when you saw that there was a samurai documentary, you were like,
definitely
samurai.
Definitely watched it. I was like, ooh, what an interesting take on Oda Nobunaga. He's a fascinating man. But yeah, it did get a little, just the weeb got a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah.
Anyways,
happens.
Matt,
it's dangerous. You know what else is dangerous,
right,
Dave?
man.
Twisted monsters from another dimension. That's right. The Nezare. And they're attacking in this episode, as they do in all episodes. This one, episode 34, I'll show you, Big Brother's Miracle Shot, was written by Shigeru Yanagawa. Its original air date was October 12th, 1997. If you'd like to watch along with us, you can do so on the DVDs or at shoutfactorytv.com. But you don't have to this time. This is a skippable one. Yeah. We're going to talk about it when we come back. Okay, welcome back. Here it is, episode 34. It's all about soccer, kind of.
Yeah, let's talk about this dumb episode. This is definitely the biggest, and here's the thing, it's not even terrible.
No, it's not.
Had this been an episode of O-Ranger, I would have been like, all right. As an episode of Megaranger,
which is a
kind
good
of
show.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It kind of sucks.
I mean, there's some stuff in it. We'll get to it. But, this episode does not need to exist. In fact, this episode is so, disposable that I was looking at the trivia about it on the Ranger Wiki, and this one was never even adapted into a Power Rangers episode. They just looked at this one and were like, no, we're not gonna. I don't know how common that was, but
I think potentially there's a reason, which is because all the costume stuff still centers around sports. and still centers around, like, there's a ton of non-costumed people in a bunch of the costume shots.
Oh, that is true. Yeah,
so
is true.
I can see where it would have been really difficult to adapt it.
Yeah. And also, there's
Okay,
no point to it. Okay,
Yeah,
the episode starts with a kid. His name was Shinji, and he's bad at soccer. And his
Very
coach
bad at
is
soccer.
terrible.
Yes, he's a bad coach. He's a bad coach and a bad person. He's just like, hey, Endo, you suck and are the worst. And you're the worst player on this team. I don't even know why you play soccer, but if you're going to foul up my team, like, at least try harder.
Yeah. This is bad. Shinji's friend walks over and says, Shinji Endo is his name. And says, like, hey, that was bad. But also, like,
It's obviously
like,
not, adults should not talk to us that way. That's not great.
Yeah. No. So first of all, let's just mention that. Second of all, like, isn't your brother really good at soccer? Like, why don't you have him show you some pointers if you're having difficulty? And Shinji's like, man, I would, but my brother's just been so busy recently. He's just, like, never around.
Yes. So we go from there, and we see the Rangers, and they are doing, like, a sparring training session wherein Mega Black appears to just solo the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Like, he actively is fighting Mega Blue and Mega Red for, like, a moment. And then he just focuses in on Mega Red, takes him to the cleaner, and ends with, like, standing over him with his Mega Blaster just, like, pointed at Mega Red's face. Like, I've clearly won this. And then the other Rangers come, like, limping out of the woodwork. So I'm pretty sure Koichiro just whooped the entire rest of his team.
Yeah.
Which is a dominant move, Koichiro.
It's very
I'm
good.
impressed.
It's like that time that Cyclops went back to the X-Mansion, and everyone was brainwashed into thinking he was some sort of a monster, and he had to fight all of the X-Men by himself. That was good.
That was good. That was good. I have been loving Cyclops back. Like, now that Cyclops is back again as, like, all the new X-Men stuff is it's just aces. Good. It's so good. It's so good.
Cyclops is my guy.
Yeah. No. I do. So,
anyway, so
they're
Kel
just
is
like,
saying,
Koichiro.
like, yeah, like, they are upset. Not upset. They're annoyed because Koichiro is pushing them, like, really hard. And he's saying, like, listen, the Nezare have gotten better. They have new kinds of monsters. We need to practice like this every day to make sure that we are prepared.
This is not an option. We are the one, right? Like, we are the heroes that can save Earth. Like, this is, come on. So we cut over to Shinji. He's in a park. He's practicing his soccer. He's just, like, kicking the ball against a wall. He, like, misses the wall and the ball goes rolling.
His brother rolls up. Or we see somebody roll up and do, like, a little, like, soccer trick and, like, kick, like, you know, sort of kicks the ball up and grabs it and tosses it over to him. And it's his brother, and his brother is Koichiro. Koichiro has a brother.
Yeah.
Has had one the whole season. This is the first we're finding out about it.
Yup. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got some all caps in my notes about this one. What?
Later, we're going to see the both of them at home, and, like, it seems like they don't have parents, and they just, like, live by themselves in this house.
I don't think that's the case, actually. I'll tell you why when we get there. But I'll tell you what, it's definitely nicer than Kenta's place.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, Kenta's place is, you know, it's got a lot of charm, but it's also, you know, an apartment above a store that the family runs.
So anyways, Shinji explains, he's like, listen, my team is in the finals for, like, this youth soccer league. I'm not feeling confident about it. You're my big brother. You were helping me practice, and you said you were going to, and you have been totally gone. Like, you know, what the heck, man? And Kuchi's like, actually, dude, you're totally right. I'm super sorry. I have been very, very busy, but like, let's practice right now, and I'm going to practice with you tomorrow. I promise. Like, we're going to get you prepped for this tournament. And then rather than practicing with his brother, he just sort of like stunts on him for a minute and like shows off how good he is at soccer.
Okay, here's my theory, is that the actor who plays Koichiro is like good at soccer tricks. And they were
he just does them. He clearly is good at them.
Yeah, well, my theory is that that's why this episode exists. Is they were like, man, we've got to have we've got to have like 3 more filler episodes before we start like, moving towards the end game.
Can anyone do anything?
Yeah, can
Soccer
anybody
tricks.
juggle? Can
Juggling. Cardistry.
hacky sack, cardistry, yeah. And he was like, oh yeah, I can do soccer tricks. Like, cool, soccer episode. We're doing it. Because nothing else,
Dude.
like nothing about this monster is like it's gonna be a porcupine monster. Like nothing about that screams soccer. Like it's not a soccer themed episode other than the fact that it is a soccer. It's an episode that centers on soccer, but totally doesn't have to. It could be anything else.
Dude, speaking of hacky sack, like real briefly, do you recall that producer Mark's brother used to be super into this like very intense hacky sack related thing that was sort of like hacky sack but was not exactly hacky sack?
Oh yeah, he's like extremely good at hacky sack.
Yeah, he's like super duper good at it.
And Koichiro is also, I mean, kicking a soccer ball, doing there's a word for this, right? No, it's juggling. It's soccer juggling, right? You juggle the ball.
Yeah. Foot bag, Matt.
Foot bag. Isn't that just hacky sack?
Oh, sorry. Real briefly, I went back into the email archives to look this up. Hacky sack is a trademark name based off of foot bag. In foot bag, all the bags have 32 panels and are filled with steel shot.
Huh. So this is like frisbee golf versus disc golf, right? Like this is...
Yeah, I believe so. So. Anyways, so we go from there, and they clearly have been doing some practicing, and they're like getting some water at a pump, and Koichiro says, here, like, take this friendship bracelet to remember that we're always brothers, and I promise that we'll practice tomorrow. So very obviously, they are not going to practice tomorrow.
Right, there will be a monster-related problem.
Yeah, and then they get this amazing shot at sunset. I get an enormous kick out of the fact that, like, there has to be so much time spent on a Sentai set just sitting around waiting for sunset.
Oh, yeah, because the sunset is featured so often and is always good. I never see a sunset in an episode of Sentai and think, like, they didn't need that. No, you always need it. There should be a sunset in every episode. Maybe not at the end. It could be right near the beginning, like this one, but it always improves an episode. So we get to the Nezare dimension, and in the Nezare dimension, strangely, is Shinji's terrible soccer coach. Because it turns out that Shinji's terrible soccer coach is
it's not that strange, we should say.
Well, it looks weird because he is in his human disguise when he shows up in the Nezare base, and his human disguise is just like a guy in a soccer jersey, and that's a weird thing to see standing next to Dr. Hinelar and his crazy hair.
Yeah, no. That is a bit of an odd moment, I should say.
And also what's weird is that, like, I feel like a lot of times if a monster has a human form, that human form either, like, kind of looks like the monster or, like, has a very, like, weird vibe, like, visibly is a visually interesting character.
Right, you look at them, and like as soon as you see them, you're just like, oh, that person is a monster in disguise, like very obviously.
Right.
This dude was not. He was just a very mean man.
Yes. And then he shakes around, and then he becomes Porcupine Nezalar.
No. Matt, I'm sorry, you cannot just elide over this shaking around. It's the only part of this episode that is worth looking into. because this makes me lament that this is an audio medium only, but he just sort of like holds both of his hands up as though he is the great Cornholio and just shakes his whole body side to side, like wiggling his hands, and then like does like a crazy like face but like grimacing, and then he turns into Porcupine. It's the best monster transformation aside from Pig Nezare, I would say.
It's extremely good. So his plan is weird because he zaps a soccer ball and then he kicks that soccer ball and then that soccer ball has energy and it explodes, maybe. Yeah. It's not super clear exactly what is happening. Right. And he says, I have a team of children, and I'm going to turn them into human weapons. And everyone's like, this is a great plan, and we understand it.
We love this.
That's not what I'm saying, but Dr. Hinelar and Shibolina are like, yes, of course. You will turn the children into human weapons because they can go anywhere without being detected? Perfect, of course.
Perfect. This is a very dumb episode. But they're like, yeah, that's the whole thing. Is they're like, oh, they can go anywhere, and I guess just kill people with supernatural power, and like nobody will notice, but they'll be freaked out because it's people and not a big porcupine man. Which is okay, legit. I don't know which would be weirder to me. Like a child with superhuman strength and an exploding soccer ball, or like a literal giant porcupine man. I probably wouldn't be super stoked about either, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's a bad day. So, I mean, for a giant porcupine monster, it looks cool.
Yeah.
You know, I think
got like
he
a metallic.
Yeah, he follows the same sort of vibe that you had described about Lion Nezalar, which is like, he definitely looks like a Mega Man X villain.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So, back down on Earth. Koichiro is putting up a flyer on the digital research club's door that says, like, our training today is canceled. And everyone else shows up. And they're like, why are you putting a flyer on the door? And I think, yeah, why didn't he just tell them? But whatever. He likes printing, I guess.
Well, he just wanted to make sure that they would see it if he didn't happen to be there. He's covering all his bases. This is 100% a Koichiro move. I have no problems with this.
He tells them, like, listen, I know I said we had to train every day, but today I need to practice soccer with my brother. Chisato thinks that he's, like, sneaking off to go on a date. But he's not. He's just going to go practice with his brother. And everyone's like, yeah, actually, that's great. You should spend time with your brother. He needs you. Like, that's a great thing to do.
Yeah. They do get a Nezare alert, and Koichiro is like, oh, no. And they're like, dude, we will handle it. You made a promise to your brother. Like, you go keep your promise. Which, just great. Just, you love to see it.
Good stuff.
I did notice Chisato and Miku were not, but at least the guys in this scene were color-coded underneath their school uniform jackets, and I appreciated that.
Yes, and Kenta has a haircut. I don't remember if he got it between episodes at what point, but he has finally cut his hair.
I think he had it last episode, actually.
Also,
anyways,
some of the shots in the opening have been updated. Like, I don't know if you watch through the opening theme every week. But the
50-50,
like the shots of the various Megarangers in it have been updated at some point. It's not the same as it looked in the first episode.
So we go from there, and Koichiro was late. Shinji's just like, where's Big Brother? And then we see the evil coach picking kids for his evil team. And he says, I'm like, I'm evil. And they're like, what do you mean? You're a soccer coach. And he's like, no, I'm a porcupine man. And then he transforms and they all freak out predictably. And he's like, it doesn't matter. And then he uses like a mind control beam on them.
Yeah.
And then they all just kind of go deadpan.
That Shinji isn't there. Like,
yeah, he's very, very mad.
He finds out that Shinji has been like practicing with his brother. And he's like, no, that's bad. Even though he actively does not like Shinji and thinks that he's bad at soccer. And he specifically needs these kids to do like soccer-related crimes.
Here is the only thing I can think of, is that he chose this guise for himself because he does genuinely love soccer and really does hate Shinji because Shinji is bad at soccer, and because of that, wanted particularly to make use of him in his evil plan. And so that's why he's upset.
I mean, that makes as much sense as anything, Dave.
So...
they all leave. The Rangers arrive.
Oh, now there is a key. Now hold up. There's a key element. There's a key little blurb that you need to note here, which is that his mind control comes along with a weird little black friendship bracelet. So like when he mind controls you, you get a black friendship bracelet. A hatred bracelet, one could say.
You could say. Also, Shibolena is here. She's loving the whole thing. She gets the plan. I mean, any mind control plan, you got to imagine that she's going to approve.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's her bread and butter. She loves this stuff.
Mega Rangers show up.
We go
they
to the
show
park.
up too late. Everybody's gone. And then they get another notification like, actually, there is a problem, but it's not the place where I already sent you. It's at this different park. Wakaba Park, which is, of course, where Shinji is.
Or he would be. He's about to be there.
Yeah, well,
So
that's where
shows
Koichiro was planning to meet with him to.
No, I'm
practice
sorry.
Soccer.
Psh, I got flipped around. Sorry. Shinji is there. Koichiro is not there yet. My bad. So Shinji is there. He's waiting for Koichiro, who's not there, as we said. But you know who is there is a horrible porcupine man.
Yes.
So he shows up. And he's like, Shinji, I hate you. And Shinji's like, I don't even know who you are, but I'm terrified and I'm running away. And then he uses his mind control.
The thing that he says before he shoots him with his brainwash beam is he says, I'm the only one who can teach you the real joy of playing soccer.
Yeah, which seems that's a very strange thing to say because it's very extremely not true.
Right. And also, yeah, like, he is his coach and has done a bad job of teaching him how to play soccer. And also, the thing that he's going to teach him how to do now is blow stuff up with soccer balls, which is not really the same as soccer. It's soccer adjacent, sure. But it's not, like, full on, you know, it's not, this is not football.
Yeah,
as they say.
that's,
It's not the beautiful game, really.
Yeah, no, it's not the beautiful game. It's not the people's game. It is the Nezalar's game. It is decidedly anti. It is the against the people's game, is what it is. And so, they leave. Koichiro shows up, and he's like, Shinji, where are you? And he's looking around, and then the Rangers are there. They're like, where's Shinji? He's like, I don't know. But he sees the bracelet, the friendship bracelet that he had given Shinji earlier in the episode. It's on the ground. I guess it got blown off by the force of the hatred bracelet materializing.
Yeah, I mean,
is what I'm going to go with.
You know, you've only got room. You've only got one bracelet.
You only got one slot.
Yeah, and so he had to discard the other item, unfortunately. Koichiro does find him. He runs around for what feels like a very long time just shouting Shinji's name. He does eventually find him, and when he does, Shinji's just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. We're going to go win this game tomorrow, and I'm not mad at you for bailing on our practice, but he has like no emotions, basically, and he just walks away from Koichiro.
Now, it is a little bit weird to me because I feel like that don't they have like super duper space surveillance? It just seems weird that he was looking for his brother for as long as he was. Like, they have 1 million satellites or something. Like, they can see, like, Dr. Kubota can see, like, everything they do all the time. It seems like he could have just called his brother, or called Dr. Kubota and be like, hey, could you just find my brother Shinji? Like, here's a picture of him. And Dr. Kubota would be like, oh, yeah, he's, like, 3 blocks away. It's no problem.
The thing is, dude, there's no episode in this episode, so they have to keep, like, so much time has been spent, like, okay, the Mega Rangers go here. Nothing happens. Then they go to another location and they find a bracelet, but otherwise nothing happens. And then Kuichiro runs around for a while and eventually finds his brother. Kind of nothing happens.
And then nothing happens. Well, one thing does happen, which is that he sees the hatred bracelet.
Yes.
And he's like, this is weird. Next scene we see, it's Kuichiro burning the midnight oil, studying presumably, late at night. And he hears the gate, because he has like a gate around his house, and he hears the gate latch go, and he looks out and he sees Shinji walking away. Here's why I think they probably do have parents. My assumption is that their parents are just in bed.
And Shinji should also be in bed. Because
definitely should also be in bed.
Yeah, because Kuichiro is like, why is Shinji awake and going outside right now? Like, those things are both
Doesn't
weird.
make any sense.
So he follows him to the soccer field.
Yeah. He sees their night practice and their super strong kicks. And I was reminded of Shaolin Soccer.
I was also reminded of Shaolin Soccer.
What a great movie that was.
Shaolin Soccer is so much better than this episode. But they do both involve super
better.
soccer kicks. And actually, I think the same thing where, like, a ball gets kicked into the goalpost and it, like, bends the post. Like the post is sort of, like, wrapped around the soccer ball
that's
that's
definitely...
embedded in it. And that's fun. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, no. That's a great moment, man. So, Ko runs out, and he's like, what is happening? And then Porcupine Nezare's like, I'm a porcupine man. And then he's like, use him as target practice. And they all kick soccer balls. Oh, Shinji does. Sorry, Shinji does it first. Just kicks a very, very hard soccer ball at Kuichiro, and he like goes flying. And then they all kick very hard soccer balls at Kuichiro, and he's very hurt.
So, commercial break. When we come back, it's the next morning. Koichiro has been, like, chained up to some equipment, like, in the, like indoor
the locker,
equipment
the storage locker area
of the arena stadium thing. And that's bad, because he needs to be able to, press the buttons on his digitizer to be able to turn it on, and he can't move his hands because of chains.
Yes, we flip to the kids, and they are on, like, the travel team bus, just going to the tournament. So they're on the travel team bus, they're going to the tournament. Koichiro is, like, he's like, ooh, I could use that equipment. There's, like, a clock with, like, standy-outy hands. Like a non-digital, it's like an actual clock as opposed to, like, a digital clock. I mean, digital clocks are clocks, but you know what I'm saying. It's an analog clock. And he's like, ooh, I can pull that over and use it as, like, a stick to, like, push the buttons on my digitizer. Which he does, and he digitizes, and then he breaks out of his chains and is good to go. The kids get to the soccer tournament, and they have one instruction, which is to give 110% in killing people.
Yes. You're gonna
just
need
get out there and give it their all.
There. Good hustle.
To kill people, yes.
And if you kill enough people, you can have orange slices afterwards.
Orange slices are de rigueur, man. If you kill enough people, you get to go to Dairy Queen afterwards. Or in our case, Dairy King.
There was a Dairy King that we would get to go to if we won a game, yeah.
Yeah, did not happen a lot. We were not good at soccer.
No, very bad, actually. That's fine. Dairy King wasn't that good anyway. That's a lie. Dairy King was fine. I just am choosing to believe that it was not that good because I did not get to enjoy it as much as a child.
You know what, Matt? It's still there. You're an adult. You can just go now. Well, not now, because A, it's closed, and B, there's a pandemic. But in theory, you could go at a point later.
Yeah. It's one of those places that's like only open in the summer. Because there's no indoor seating. It's just like a stand somewhere. You know the kind.
Yeah, I almost definitely will go at some point this summer. Like, now that I'm thinking about it. Anyways, the game is, like, weirdly well attended for a youth soccer tournament game, but there you go. Yeah. And then there's like a fight with the Rangers and some Kunekune, I think. Shibolina's just there in like full costume watching all of this happen. Porcupine Nezalar like charges up the ball with like some evil power, and then the kids kick it very hard, and then it does explode. Like they kick it hard enough that it lodges into one of the concrete like support beams of the stadium and then explodes with enough force to just destroy the beam.
Yeah, so they're not kicking these balls at people to like explode them with soccer balls. They're like tearing down the stadium around the audience and just trying to crush them, I guess. And that's kind of cool, right? Like it's a cool set piece.
That's a good plan.
It's weird, but it's kind of cool. The Rangers go out on the soccer pitch and they get balls kicked at them, and that's bad. There's some good, like the music stings in it are pretty good. Good music in this episode. That's a cool thing that's going on.
Yes. Yep. No, that's definitely true. So the other soccer team is just like, this is not a soccer game. I'm not sure what's happening here, but we're out. So they're running. The Kunekune are in the mix. Mega Black jumps in. He takes a hit from a soccer ball. He falls down. He gets back up. Shinji kicks him again. He falls down with the soccer ball. And this happens like a few times. And Porcupine Nezalar's like, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, but it's not going to work. I have mind controlled this kid. And Mega Black's like, I'll never forgive you for this. And then Mega Black has a great idea.
Like that.
Yeah. Lava never will forgive you. Then Mega Black has a great idea, which is just directly attack Porcupine Nezalar. Which nobody ever thinks to do.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's much better than his previous plan of standing there on the field and getting balls super kicked at him. That was a bad plan. Was an
extremely bad plan. So he just attacks Porcupine Nezalar, and it's fine. He just like dominates this dude. It is not a problem for him.
Yeah, as we saw earlier in the episode, Koichiro, very good at fighting. So Porcupine Nezalar, runs away from Koichiro and grabs Shinji as like a hostage. And he's like, all of you have to throw down your weapons or I'm going to kill this kid. And then they all throw down their weapons, and he does not let Shinji go, but he jumps far away to the other side of the stadium. Now, at this point, you might think, well, they should pick up their weapons and shoot at him. But they don't, because Koichiro says,
they do not do that thing.
I have an idea. I am going to use a soccer ball to finish this. Now, you might say, a soccer ball is not as good as a laser gun. And you might also say, I think that watching you run up to that soccer ball and kick it would be enough to tip off Porcupine Nezalar that you were planning to kick a soccer ball at him with great force. And that it might be faster to pick up your gun and shoot him. But that's not what happens. What happens is that Koichiro kicks that soccer ball with extreme force.
Yeah, he's real good at it.
It's a miracle shot, like the name of the episode. And it's a miracle shot because he doesn't bend it like Beckham. He bends it like Captain Boomerang. Like it shoots past Porcupine Nezalar and then turns around mid-air and hits him in the back of the head. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not actually cool.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely it is absolutely insane.
And here's the thing. We have seen great sports episodes of Sentai. We've seen great soccer there's a great soccer episode of Die Ranger. It's extremely good. You can do cool stuff with it. They just chose not to.
Yeah. It was extremely dumb. So he goes down, and then he goes giant, and then there's a giant fight. There is some pretty solid, UFC style ground and pound on the part of Mega Voyager. And then also he just grabs Porcupine Nezalar and does a Hulk style, like just holds him by his ankles and swings him overhead and smashes him into the ground a bunch of times. So that was fun. And then that's it. He's, it's not much of a fight. And then our last scene is just Koichiro practicing soccer with Shinji.
Yeah. And the other
everybody
four,
else is like...
They watch approvingly.
They're like, that's great. We're glad that he has let up on us.
And is hanging out with his brother again. Cool.
Cool.
End of episode.
And then, yep, that's it. Not a winner.
Yeah.
Again, in the context of Megaranger, I should say.
Yeah, as you said, like if this had been an episode of O-Ranger, I would have been like, oh, great. Somebody got to hang out with a kid and like learn a lesson about keeping promises or something. Which actually isn't like, there is no lesson learned in this episode, really. It's just like, I guess Koichiro learns to hang out with his brother more often. But like, Koichiro is right. He does need to be practicing to fight the Nezare. Like, that's very important. And all his hard practice paid off because he beat the Nezare very easily.
Yeah. Okay, so next, Matt, what we got to figure out is where Porcupine Nezare sits on the Creature Royale.
Okay, so he's a mean soccer coach, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But then he brainwashes children to turn them into human weapons so they can kick soccer balls very hard and to knock over a stadium. Which seems like it's both overly complicated and completely ineffective. Because if he was a good monster, he could just blow up the stadium himself.
Okay, you say that, but they did do a very good job blowing up the stadium.
Yeah, but his stated goal was that he wanted to kill the audience, and I don't think a single one of them died.
Okay, that actually is a very good point. So
he's not there for property damage.
Okay. I am looking, you know what? I'm looking down in like the Mole, Rhino, Nezare. Okay, I like him better than Rhino Nezare.
Yeah, I mean, he's a character,
because he at
right?
least
He's
has
got
a
personality. And I like that.
Yes. And he's a very bad soccer coach. And so I would say he's better than Rhino Nezare. Is he better than... I think Coral Nezare is my ceiling. Coral Nezare is just like a weird, crazy dude.
Oh, yeah.
So
Coral
my question
Nezare
is
like
better...
turning people into coral so he can like choke the seas with like the bodies of people that he has transformed. Like, that's a very weird and upsetting thing, and that's cool.
Yeah, so I think the real question here is Porcupine Nezare versus Mole Nezare. It's a battle of the Rodentia.
Dave, who was Mole Nezare again?
Matt, Mole Nezare kind of looks like Bakuryu.
Oh, from Bloody Roar.
I think he was... He was trying to like blow up the city with a meteor or something.
Okay, well, I mean, Porcupine Nezalar only tried to blow up a soccer stadium, which is way smaller than a city. So I think we've got to give it to Mole Nezare just on ambition.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's legit. So better than Rhino Nezare, not as good as Mole Nezare. Porcupine Nezare in at the new spot number 20.
20 out of 25, so not super strong showing their Porcupine Nezalar, but, you know, I guess you did your best, even though it was not a lot. And that's it, Dave. That's it for this episode of The Spy Who Loved Megaranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. If you'd like to rate and review us there, that would be swell. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. If you'd like to catch any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find us all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.